In the third section, now we will talk about antepartum and postpartum hemorrhage. In this section, we will talk mainly about the causes of antepartum hemorrhage. Antepartum hemorrhage is the hemorrhage that occurs before the delivery, and postpartum hemorrhage is the hemorrhage or bleeding that occurs after the delivery. How these two conditions present and how we can diagnose and manage these conditions, again, because both antepartum and postpartum hemorrhage can cause serious consequences and cause increase in the fetal and maternal mortality and morbidity. So antepartum hemorrhage is the vaginal bleeding after 20 weeks gestation. So antepartum hemorrhage is before the delivery, but it's after the 20 weeks of gestation, not before 20 weeks of gestation. 50% maternal deaths are because of this antepartum hemorrhage or obstetric hemorrhage. Antepartum hemorrhage complicates 2 to 5% of all pregnancies. They are affected by antepartum hemorrhage, which is bleeding occurring after 20 weeks of gestation. So until 20 weeks, no problem, no complication, pregnancy goes normally. But after 20 weeks, sometimes the hemorrhage occur and there is bleeding, and this leads to 50% of maternal death associated with antepartum hemorrhage. Causes, placental causes, we already talked about these causes in detail. What are these? We talked about abruptio placenta, we talked about placenta previa, and also what are they, how they present, and how we can manage them. Fetal causes of antepartum hemorrhage include the vasa previa. Again, we mentioned that in the previous section. What is vasa previa? Which is the fetal blood vessels that transverse the fetal membrane, cause involvement of the umbilical cord also, and cause hemorrhage and bleeding. So that's one of the fetal causes of antepartum hemorrhage. Next, the maternal causes of antepartum hemorrhage: any trauma or infection, cervical ectropion and cervical carcinoma, and cervicitis. The things which we did not discuss in detail were the maternal causes, and the maternal causes mainly are due to some injury, trauma, fall that can cause hemorrhage, and there is some infections that can occur that can lead to antepartum hemorrhage. So maternal causes are mainly infection and trauma are the leading cause of antepartum hemorrhage. This is the picture of the blood that's present in the uterus causing the hemorrhage. Diagnosis is history taking is very important in the diagnosis. Thorough examination of the patient to find out what's the cause of the hemorrhage. Investigations that can help is the degree of bleeding, how bad is the bleeding. We should do the blood count of the patient and clotting factors. Ultrasound should be performed to find out the size of the fetus and what's the presentation of the fetus, what's the morphology and amniotic fluid, whether it's normal amount, it's oligohydramnios, it's polyhydramnios. All this can be found by the ultrasound. Then again, we mentioned that we can have a concealed hemorrhage and apparent or revealed hemorrhage. Revealed hemorrhage is the hemorrhage in which the blood comes out of the cervix. Concealed is the one in which the blood do not come out of the cervicina. Next is postpartum hemorrhage, or the hemorrhage that occurs after the delivery, which can be labeled as postpartum hemorrhage if there is blood loss of more than 500 ml. Symptoms are anxiety and nausea, thirst and dizziness, pain and cold. Signs of postpartum hemorrhage is the rising fundus, peritonism, reduced urine output, tachypnea, fast breathing rate. Nia is breathing, tachy is fast, so tachypnea is fast breathing. There is a fast heartbeat and hypotension. All these are the signs of the postpartum hemorrhage. There is narrow pulse pressure. Pulse pressure is the difference between systolic and diastolic blood pressure. So it's narrowed down. So all these are different signs and symptoms of postpartum hemorrhage. Risk factors of postpartum hemorrhage is uterine atony. If the tone of the uterus is lost, then it can cause postpartum hemorrhage. If there is macrosomia and polyhydramnias, if the baby is big and there is excess amniotic fluid, it can also cause postpartum hemorrhage. Multiple pregnancy and placental abruption. Antepartum hemorrhage also can lead to postpartum hemorrhage. Accreta, hematological disorders can cause hemorrhage. And placenta previa and multiple C-sections. All these are the causes of placental postpartum hemorrhages, which can be paid attention to, especially if the blood loss is more than 500 ml. It can cause shock and collapse of the patient. So all these are the common risk factors that can cause postpartum hemorrhage. Management of postpartum hemorrhage is again initiate hemorrhage protocol, call for senior help, scribe to documentation, go over the notes is important, and documentation proper is important if it's later on used for any legal causes. And intravenous interventions administered. So scribe to clearly document timing of events, people and interventions which are done. Uterine compression, rub up contractions, empty uterus and vaginal clot, empty the bladder, uterotonic agents, IV access and two-bore cannulas should be inserted, full blood count, cross-matching, coagulation profile, fluid replacement, rapid infuser with fluid warmer. So all these are the step-by-step management of postpartum hemorrhage. First, make sure call for the senior help, and proper documentation is important, because if something bad happens or in any other case also, proper documentation is required because it can be used in the medical legal case. Then we have all these steps: empty the bladder, empty the uterus and remove any clots, perform the blood tests, and then the 5 to 10 units in oxytocin is given to cause the uterus to contract and cause the expulsion of any products. 40 units of oxytocin in 100 ml saline for 4 hours, 800 to 1000 microgram rectal misoprostol, centometrian, repeat ergometrine 500 microgram intramuscularly or IV, and then we can use carbaprost 0.25 milligram intramuscular. So all these are the step-wise approaches to the management of postpartum hemorrhage. In case of uterine atony, any retention of pieces of placenta is also a very important cause of the postpartum hemorrhage. And all these, if uterus contracts good, the contraction can push anything that's retained in the uterus and cause expulsion of those products. So that's very, very important. If ongoing bleeding is present after all these approaches, then we should consider that it might be due to disseminated intravascular coagulation and replacement with clotting agents, senior help, and transfer to operation theater. And we should clear documentation, debrief of staff, family members, and patients. Risk report is important. So again, was all about the antepartum and postpartum hemorrhage. What are the different causes of these two conditions and how we can manage these. Again, these are all the emergency situations, so proper documentation was mentioned again and again is required. Don't miss any step. Make sure you should document completely, clearly each step that you perform in the management. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.